Welcome to the Cafe Cabaret for January 9th, 1991. Those of you out there in TV land might be a little confused. What we did was show excerpts from last week's Cafe Cabaret. We're now beginning the official Cafe Cabaret. My name is MC Hammer. No, actually, my name is Francis DiMenno. Yeah, what I really need is some drum rolls up here. I was watching the Nat King Cole show. Yeah. Isn't he great? Only in Cambridge would you get people applauding for Nat King Cole. But you know, the way he does his show, it's really great. He goes, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen." He's always grinning, this incessant grin. They even had to have this grumpy Southerner-looking guy come in to sort of act as counterpoint to Nat King Cole. He's just too cheerful. And he's like, "This is our first show in our new time slot, and we're going to have all sorts of special guests, including Yuri, all the way from the Soviet Union, and Dennis Allen of the Gnarly Wankers, and I think I'm going to start this out with a little song." See, that's how he'd do it, but as opposed to Nat King Cole, whose somewhat fragile voice is nonetheless still leagues ahead of mine, I can't sing at all. So I'm just going to do what I do best, which is tell jokes. At least, I hope you think so. Anyway. Just imagine if my joke telling was worse than my musical playing. I'd really
Oh,
be...
God!
Yeah, I know. I could get a gig in Antarctica, maybe. I walked into a restaurant, it had a big sign in the front window. It said, "Topless lunch." So I walked in and asked for a bottomless cup of coffee. And wouldn't you know it? They gave it to me, too. You know, Yale University is in this big flap about buying the St. Petersburg Times. Supposedly, the conditions of the will, the man who died and left the St. Petersburg Times, left it to this institution. Yale University claims that according to the terms of the will, they're supposed to run the St. Petersburg Times. And I'm just thinking, Yale will be sitting in the catbird seat. They'll have their own newspaper, and then Harvard will get jealous. What are they going to buy? The Boston Globe? Did I say something wrong? Oh, I forgot. I guess that would be kind of redundant, wouldn't it? You know, and in London, England, Dateline, London, England, you know, capital of the decaying British Empire. They have this new fashion now, and it's to imitate the 40s. You know, it's sort of their version of voguing, except with snap brim hats and zoot suits and big chains and belts that buckle on the back. And nobody can understand this. The older people are saying, "Those clothes were terrible. Why would you want to wear them now?" No, Mom, we think they're sharp, you know. So what are the really trendy people in England going to do? Why, they're going to start selling apples on the corner. So they'll get in on the 30s trend before anybody else. And Brazil, you know, all these fashions are coming from Brazil. The lambada. Brazil, when I think of Brazil, you know what I think of? The world's largest colony of Portuguese-speaking Nazis. I don't know. So are we going to start imitating 40s Brazil? You know, we can walk around dressed in little Nazi uniforms with caps and have chauffeurs, you know, Nazi staff cars. I don't know. It's just a thought. Brazil. And in Milwaukee, you see how I'm sort of modeling this after Johnny Carson, you know, "I read in the paper today." Yeah, oh, thanks, Ed. Ed, he's worth every penny I pay him. In Milwaukee, they're struck with this shortage of priests, and are considering letting a married man head up a parish. A married Catholic priest, you know. What would his wife say? "Your clothes smell like a rectory. You spilled wine all over your collar and I can't get it out. You love God more than me, don't you?" You know? So, I was in a church one time and I didn't have any money to put in the collection basket. So afterwards, the priest came up to me and said, "Tell you what, sit here and pray for money for an hour. And that way you can work it out and trade." So I did it. Prayed for money. You know what I often thought? This is the boxing match which I think all of humanity has been waiting for. Jesus versus Santa Claus. In this corner, weighing 120 pounds and weak from water loss, Jesus the Nazarene. And in this corner, weighing a hale and hearty 320 pounds, dressed in the red trunks and the artificial beard, Santa Claus. Bing! The bell opens. Jesus is warily circling the obese Santa Claus, landing hard left jabs into the pudgy face of St. Nick. But St. Nick delivers a roundhouse left, knocks the Savior clear across the ropes. Jesus is there, spread eagle in the crucified position. He jumps off the ropes. He jumps on top of the ropes. He walks on the ropes. Santa Claus pulls the umpire's ring. It's not fair! It's not fair! Jesus stands overhead, jumps down into the ring. He's circling around. He's cagey. He's candy. He's poking those hard lefts into Santa Claus's putrid fat face. Ding! That's the bell for round one. Oh, Jesus has a cut opening up over his left eye from that crown of thorns. Santa Claus hardly looks winning at all. You know how they say those big people are surprisingly graceful. Ding! Bell for the second round begins. Oh, Santa's is landing a flurry of punches into the face of the putrid Savior. Oh, Jesus is down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's getting up. 6, 7, 8. Jesus is on the ropes. 9, 10. All of a sudden, Jesus lands a haymaker left right into the face of. And he's down. He's down by the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ding! St. Nick is no longer the man with all the toys. That position has now been taken over by our Savior. I gotta get back into shape, man. Gotta stop smoking that crack. Yeah, it takes a hell of a lot out of you, I'll tell you that. Yeah, Mayor Marion Berland. Mayor Marion Barry. You have something? See that water? Can I have some?
No! What's the rest of you?
Oil. We are fooling Mayor Marion Barry. We're replacing his usual coffee with crack cocaine crystals. This is the best damn coffee I ever tasted! FBI, you're under arrest. Shit, I've been set up, man! I've been set up! They're coming out with all these cigarettes that are named after cities. It's kind of nice to be walking down the streets in Newport, Rhode Island and smoking in Newport. It kind of makes you feel important, you know? And, you know, if you're a homeless person, you have to smoke Cambridge cigarettes, which are generic. At least you can have the pride of seeing the red glowing tip of your hometown being consumed and drawn into your lungs. I think they should come out. They should continue this trend and come out with a brand called Detroit's. They set themselves on fire.
Yeah!
Every Halloween, yeah. I was reading the Boston Herald, also known as the I move my lips when I read newspaper. And there's this guy who wrote this angry letter about how if those Germans and Japs don't pony up for our war in Saudi Arabia, we should boycott German and Japanese goods. We should boycott them. And yeah, that'd be a great idea. I can just see all the car repairmen sitting around going, yeah, right on. Yeah. That would be great. You know, we have a recession. I know that this is like a hard thing to say, you know, because we shouldn't. I mean, you know, our government should have had their hands on the tiller and not in the till, if you get my drift, but unfortunately, they have, and so we're in a recession. I'm thinking of all the boom industries that are going to open up. Undercover surveillance, drug testing, bill collecting, and mortgage foreclosures. 4 of the big growth industries for the 90s. I'd like to do all 4 of them, you know? Like conduct some undercover surveillance. Aha, he's smoking crack behind the garage. Do the drug testing, he tests positive. Get the bill collecting going in, he can't pay his bills, he lost his job, I just got him fired. Oh, mortgage foreclosure time. I'll be in all the big, major boom industries. I had a job once for a corporation. It was called Myopia Corporation. They manufactured lens caps, eye patches, and firecrackers. And the president was blind. The president of the corporation was blind. Can you imagine that? A blind man running a major corporation. And what's even funnier is how he got that way. Well, he was investigating reports that some employee was swinging a firecracker on a string around his head. So I went down there to investigate, and the thing blew up in his face. That man was demoted. So the president of this corporation was blind. I saw my opportunity.
How blind was he?
Well, he was so blind that everybody was afraid of him because his clothes did not match. Well, I said to myself, this is a decision world, and it's time to start making some hard decisions. I said to myself, if a blind man can become the president of a major corporation, just think of what a man with the gift of sight can do. So I started out by imitating my boss. I pretended I was colorblind. And, you know, pretty soon everybody in the company thought that I was blind, and they thought that I was the president, because you ever see two blind people wandering around a major corporation? Not too often. So I pretended to be blind. Stealing that corporation was a snap. That blind bastard never saw me coming. I stole it right out from under him. And I was the blind president of Myopia Corporation. But I made several unwise decisions. Well, first of all, I insured Bo Powell. Then I invested in Pan Am. Then I converted all my corporation's assets into East German currency. And that was my downfall. The corporation went bankrupt. My wife divorced me. She said, I don't know what I ever saw in you. Everybody turned against me. My seeing eye dog bit me. I lost my apartment. I had to move into a dumbwaiter. So I lived in darkness. How appropriate. I was the blind one. Today, my clothing doesn't match, and everybody is afraid of me.
Yeah!
You know, everybody's always talking about diets. Well, look at this. Oprah Winfrey, I'll never eat again. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'll never diet again. Oprah as a lean machine in 1988. As opposed to all the fat machines that we see every day and walking down the street. You know, hey buddy, get out of my way, I'm a fat machine. I'm a fat, slothful, pacifistic machine. So in honor of everybody going on a diet for the New Year's, I'd like to do a little ad. It's for this tropical resort where you can go and lose weight, and it's called Bulimia. Come to Bulimia in the Anorexia Islands. Come to Bulimia and walk in the fine white sands in your bare feet, for we will have eaten your shoes at the airport. In Bulimia. Bulimia. Official tropical resort of the Miss America pageant. You know, they have these burger buddies over at unnamed burger place for 29 cents. Right? Burger buddies, you know what I do? I go to the supermarket, I buy a pound of lard and a spoon. Hey, I'm golden, you know, and I save 4 cents too. And now I call it my Brazilian rainforest buddy. You know? Now, you guys know about Governor Cuomo, the governor of New York. Everybody's talking about, you know, how he's presidential timber, and he's doing this thing. He's starting a trust fund for the environment. Boy, it doesn't take a genius, you know, to figure that out. But you got to give him credit. He was the first. He was there when the environment needed his help. But he'll never be president because he looks too much like Droopy, the cartoon dog. He does. It's unfortunate. You know, he passed legislation outlawing dwarf tossing in New York State. Isn't that just like a Democrat? He had a rider attached to the bill. Affirmative action, you know? Got to toss 20% giants, you know? Victims of pituitary giantism. Gorbachev. I like to talk about Gorbachev. You know, a lot of people in the United States are kind of frivolous, and they don't appreciate what Gorbachev has done. He's basically ended the Cold War, and you know, he also put a little bit of juice into Ronald Reagan's waning presidency when he needed it the most. You know, oh Ronnie, trouble at home? Well, we'll fix you up. Here, Soviet Union, she's all yours. Not quite that. He has this big stain on his head, this big blotch. You know, you'd think that a man who could hold together 13 or 15 squabbling autonomous republics would be able to do something about that little blotch on his head. Like, if he were taken out of power and he became an alcoholic, his face would get so red you wouldn't see this splotch anymore. But then the people would riot. They've taken away our stain! What next? So, I don't think it's going to happen. I hope Corby doesn't become an alcoholic. I kind of like the little fella, you know? You know, the thing is, I'm an alcoholic. You want to know how I started drinking? I was lost in the Alps, and a St. Bernard dog came up to me with a little barrel of rum around his neck, and I took a drink, and it was tasty. So I took another, and another, and another, and before too long there were 40 St. Bernards all clustered in a big circle around me. I was lying on the snow, more and more. Well, I went to AA and I got into therapy and stuff, and they said, okay, now you're free to roam society and, you know, make your living like an honest person should. So I figured I'd get a job that would sort of be occupational therapy, so I got a job here, working at the bar. Yeah, it was wonderful. There's this astronaut who just quit NASA not too long ago. And it's funny, it coincides with the publication of Neil Armstrong's autobiography. I Can See Your House From Here, the story of the first moon landing. Hey, Dennis. This is Dennis Allen I'm going to bring up now. And we're going to do a little song for you, and then we're going to begin introducing the real guests, and the real show will start. I see we have Mark Berland, and mighty fortunate it is for us. Mark, did you bring your guitar?
Yeah.
Did you bring your violinist?
No.
Oh, okay. Next time. All right, excellent. All right, now Dennis, tell us a little something about what this song is called.
Well, Francis, from what I can remember, it's called Boo Boo, the Mean Bear, I think.
The mean teddy bear.
I was in kind of a haze that night when we produced and arranged this number.
Yeah, Phil Spector wanted to get in on it, but we insisted on having a stereo recording, so.
That's right.
All right, well.
And we didn't want a wall of sound either, did we?
No, I guess not. Not considering. Hey, what key is this thing in anyway?
This is going to be played in the key of A, I believe.
Oh, you mean the index finger and little finger chord?
Yeah, that's the one, Francis.
You mean like that? Or like this?
Hey, Michael, is this for me to plug into?
That's it. Plug it right in.
That's great. Theory of relativity, rocket science, and plugging in a guitar. Three of the hardest things.
You get a mic for that mandolin?
Am I coming out?
I think so.
You'll find out why in a moment.
Isn't mandolin an impolitically correct term? Should it be personal in or something? I'm sorry, Francis.
I guess we never should have come up here.
Am I coming out of the speakers, everybody? Isn't that a technically correct term?
If you are, stop it. If only my mother were here. But I put her in a nursing home so I could afford to buy this tragedy. This here's the story of Boo Boo. Boo Boo wasn't like all the other teddy bears. He didn't have cute little button eyes. He wasn't really very cuddly. If you try to hug him, he'd bite you. That's because he was Boo Boo, the mean teddy bear. I got Boo Boo when I was about 4 or maybe 5 years old. I was just as thrilled as I could be. See, my parents didn't want to buy me a dog, so I had to take comfort on having Boo Boo, the mean teddy bear. Well, I didn't find out he was mean until he started whispering stuff in my ear. He started saying, "Tell your mommy to daddy about those suspicious lipstick stains on his collar. I said, all right, boo-boo. So I told my mother to start asking my father about those suspicious lipstick stains on his collar. Next thing I know, they were divorced, and I was in a boys' home. But I was happy because I had Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear, and he gave me lots of good advice. Well, I grew up, and my only friend was Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear. And he used to tell me to do all sorts of stuff. He used to tell me to set off firecrackers when the presidential motorcade was moving down the street. So I ended up in jail. And it wasn't so bad because I had my friend, my only friend, Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear. He came in very handy, you know, because when visiting hour came along, I could smuggle packets of heroin in and out of the prison by stuffing them into Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear. Actually, when I was smuggling the packets of heroin into Boo-Boo, he wasn't really the mean teddy bear. He was Boo-Boo, the somewhat confused, rather disoriented, and kind of nice when you get to know him teddy bear. Well, I got out of prison, and I got a job as a clown in a circus. I still didn't have any friends, except for one friend. That was, you guessed it, Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear. Well, one day the Shriners called me up and they asked me to entertain the children in the burn ward. So I took Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear, with me. And Boo-Boo started whispering in my ear. And I said, okay, Boo-Boo, I'll do as you say. So I told the kids that their moms and dads didn't love them anymore because they were horribly disfigured. And they all started crying. And it was all thanks to Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear. Actually, he had gotten into the drug cabinet, so he was Boo-Boo, just slightly confused, somewhat disoriented, but a nice guy when you get to know him, teddy bear. Well, as you can see, I still have this damn bear shackled to my right hand. I guess to conclude, what I have to say is, my life just wouldn't have been the same without Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear.
Boo-Boo, the mean teddy bear.
I think it's time to bring up our first guest of the evening. And is he ready? Or is he still here? Or did he have to leave? Yeah, that's a mighty good question. And when I figure out the answer to that, I'll tell you. Oh, hi. Okay, well, come on up. Bruce Marcus.
He's back to haunt you.
Ah, Superman. My arch enemy. Well, let's have a hand for Mr. Bruce Marcus.
Now for something completely different. Well, it's pretty wintry out there. For those of you who haven't noticed, So I thought some material about the North Country tonight would probably be about the most appropriate. And I wanted to start out with a poem. Oh no, a poet. Not by me, but by a gentleman named Robert Service, who wrote this about 100 years ago. He wrote about, and lived in, during the gold rush period in the North Country. And I'm going to recite one of his more well-known pieces, but a pretty good example of his macabre humor. This is the cremation of Sam McGee. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge, I cremated Sam McGee. Now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the south to roam round the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell. Though he'd often say in his homely way that he'd sooner live in hell. On a Christmas day, we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk of your cold, through the park is folded, stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we'd closed and the lashes froze till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars overhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me and, Cap, says he, I'll cash in this trip, I guess, and if I do, well, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request. Well, he seemed so low that I couldn't say no, and then he says with a sort of moan, it's this cursed cold that's got right hold until it's chilled me clean through to the bone. Yet, 'tain't being dead, it's my awful dread of the icy grave that pains, so I want you to swear that, foul or fair, you'll cremate my last remains. A pal's last need is a thing to heed, and I swore I would not fail. And we started on at the streak of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched on the sleigh and he raved all day of his home in Tennessee. And before nightfall, a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There wasn't a breath in that land of death, and I hurried, horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, you may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and now it's up to you to cremate those last remains. A promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. In the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart, how I cursed that load. In the long, long night by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to their homeless snows, oh God, how I loathed that thing. And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavy and heavier grow. And on I went, though the dogs were spent and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in. And I'd often sing to the hateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin. Till I came to the marge of Lake Labarge, and a derelict there lay. It was jammed in the ice, and I saw her in a trice. It was called the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. And here, said I with a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was lying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. The flames just soared, and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. Then I burrowed a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. Well, then I made a hike, for I did not like to hear him sizzle so. And the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I don't know why. And the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out and they danced about. Ere again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, I'll just take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked, and it's time I looked. From the door I opened wide, and there sat Sam, looking cool and calm in the heart of the furnace roar. And he wore a smile, you could see a mile, and he said, please close that door. It's fine in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and storm. Since I left Plum Tree down in Tennessee, why, it's the first time I've been warm. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge. I cremated Sam McGee. Thank you. The cremation of Sam McGee by Robert Shea. Now I'm over here. More from the North Country. This is a song of my own composition entitled The Maine Woods. I pack up my car on a Friday night. The darkness is my cradle, but my headlights bright. And Boston radio will keep me company as I point my car north and I begin to drive. Newbury, Portsmouth, and Kittery as the four-way highway merges into three. Then 3 lanes they taper on down to 2, and the trees along the road are all that I can see. Gone are fast food ghettos and the neon hotels, the frantic fuming traffic and the factory smells. And pulling off the exit with my window wide comes a soothing breeze of peace by which these words could never tell. The Maine woods they run dark and deep. They give a city soul lively that creeps, and yet I know where it is that I want to go when it comes down to being time for my eternal sleep. From the stars to Mount Katahdin with its faithful evergreens, from the rocks along the beaches to the depths of ice-cold seas, stands a monument to beauty no mortal hand could feign to shape, runs deeper than the foundations on which men build their dreams. I have tasted Maine's own lobster and its salty ocean air. I've dared to swim in chilly lakes I never thought I'd dare. I've bedded down on sandy soil with a ceiling made of stars, and a sense of humbleness of which I've seldom been aware. The Maine woods they run dark and deep. They give a city soul I want to go when it comes down to being home for my eternal sleep. Well, it's time now to be going home, and I will have to learn how to keep my spirits going where the seasons turn. Over buildings instead of mountains, parking lots instead of lakes, and a sense of speeding up is all I really seem to earn. Right across the water comes the love cry of a loon. She's telling me her night beneath the starshine and the moon. Tell her I must go back to the city I am bound. Full silence, then she cries again, as if to ask by whom? By whom? Oh, the main woods they run dark and deep. They give a city soul like me the creeps, and yet I know where it is that I want to go when it comes down to being time for my eternal sleep. Oh yes, I know just where it is that I want to go when it comes down to being time for my eternal sleep. Thanks very much. Time for one more, and we gotta run off to a dance class around the corner and learn how to swing dance these days. Not ready to incorporate it into my coffee house act yet, though. I'm gonna tell you something very personal about myself here. You have to promise that it's gonna stay within the confines of this room and never leave the Middle Eastern restaurant. Well, I can find my dreams, I can find my dreams above and way up over the trees. I don't need wings to take me, no. This is true. I just do the dog paddle and away I go, that's right. When I'm awake I can do anything, but I need the help of a machine like a copter or a glider, a balloon or a plane. And yes, it's fun and it's cool, but it's not the same, no, no. Cause when I fly in my sleep, yeah, fly in my sleep, I paddle with my hands and I kick with my feet. I get a little bit of vertigo laying in bed, but I can travel for miles and stay inside my head, that's right. Well, I can run like a cheetah, fast and far, just as long as I'm behind the wheel of my car. And I can swim way down where the fishes go, with a tank on my back, just for an hour or so. But I take off in my dreams and soar in my sleep. I sail like an eagle or a parakeet, and I don't care what the neighbors say. I'll even take them along if they go my way. Yeah, fly in my dreams, I can fly in my dreams, above, over mountains, oceans, deserts, and streams. I don't need wings to take me, no. I just do the doggy paddle and away I go. Thanks. Before I relinquish the stage, I just wanted to say that I'm going to be playing at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Medford on Friday, February 1st at I don't know what time, but you can, I don't know, go over there about 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Ought to be a pretty safe bet. Thanks for listening.
Bruce Marcus. Bruce Marcus. Now, what you've all been waiting for, Mark Van Bork. Give him a hand. Mark Van Bork, and I was going to do a threefer with Mark Berland. But is Mark Berland in the room? Mark? Well, why don't you just come up here with your guitar? I'd like to thank our video person, Ramon Lopez, who kindly agreed to come in and shoot the show. And the gentleman who you're about to see is Mike Higgins, our sound person. Let's give him a minute. That's his mother.
I love you, Mikey.
Law school didn't do any good, did it?
You're my everything, Mikey.
We don't need wise guys like you in the back of the room. And I'll be back there soon enough. No. Speaking, yes. Speaking.
Here. My name is Speak. Mark Speak. This is Mark Speak here. Now this is Mark Berland speaking. Mark Speak Berland. I'm going to play you some things I used to make up. Now I call it new acoustic music. You need something. You don't have something. It's like, what kind of cloud is that floating by? Isn't the world getting small? It's like a pencil point now. You know everyone's business in all the world? It's just like a pencil point. Well, let's see. I need some Luke reverb. I shut my mind up a long time ago and just came up with a bunch of tunes. New acoustic music. I wanted to be a professional bowler when I was younger, or a cartoonist. I didn't make it. So I chose this, so this chose me. instrumental hooligan blues. A level of sun, it's enough for you.
This is Yuri from the Soviet Union.
Moscow Boogie.
Из Лагента на дверь пуль вышел локомотив, груженный тонной тротила и ящиком пуль. В субботу утром в Персидском заливе нарвался на мину иракский военный патруль. А мне что до этого? Я в стране, я по дороге в Москву, там грех мой подвиг. Я новобранец на этой войне, на этом сне, а наяву я говорю, вот он я весь, прими каков есть, не бей меня под. Эй, мама, пока меня не испортили деньги. Эй, мама, пока меня не составили годы. Мама, мама, я счастлив и верую в наш с тобой праздничный день. Великий город, хамелеон, который уже миллионы на счетах твоих банков, в твоих ледяных катакомбах безумный бильярд, жестокий закон, от двух боков пропасть, я или он, Лубянка. Ворота в Европу надолго лишатся покоя, пока твои крысы бегут с корабля, я рыси без бля, как положено блудному сыну. До крови пропитанный чувством вины пройдут по чащобам родной страны, трущоба последней гражданской войны, и уйду, только ты не толкай меня в спину. Эй, мама, меня еще не испортили деньги. Эй, мама, меня едва не состарили годы. О, мама, мама, я верю в наш с тобой праздничный день, но в нашем небе не погода, и мои нервы на пределе. Будет трясти всех нас всю ночь. Что же мне делать, бейба? Нам не произнести имена. Они уходят за пределы, веря, что это напрасно. Они идут за этой верой, сжигая последний свой праздник. Единственный праздник, последний оставшийся день. Назад не вернется никто, и я остаюсь без ответа. Будет как-то идти сквозь нас всю ночь, но не зажжет во мне света. Вылетел шар, груженный тонной былых миражей, ящиком моих сумасшедших прожектов. Но не торопись считать меня жертвой, в своем приношении Богу я был и остался живой мишенью, а миру на фене он станет, будет кружить по излюбленным старым орбитам. Хотелось бы жить не только во сне, но я был убит на этой войне. Что-то оттуда сочится во мне и мертвит наяву, и мы вынебыть видно. Эй, мама, меня изрядно состарили деньги. Эй, мама, меня порядком подпортили годы. О, мама, мама, ты помнишь, как свято я верил в наш праздничный день? Останови мгновенье, мама, я из 5 шагах от годы. Мама, ты слышишь меня, я сжигаю последний свой день. Останови мгновенье, мама. Thank you.
making his American debut. Yuri. Let's give another hand. I think our next guest goes by the name of Patti G. So let's let her feel welcome.
Yay, Pat.
That was Patti. And I think Dennis Allen is next, but you know Dennis just went to the bar because he didn't know how long Patti was going to be gone up here. So let's see, maybe somebody should call him. I don't know. You know, it's just the way this thing's run. And we're just learning the ropes now. And the Cafe Cabaret will be open. We'll be here every week. And we'll be starting at 7, but we'd like all people to sign up to get here by 6 or 6:30 so that we can facilitate the scheduling. Okay, great. Well, what the hell is he doing anyway? I wonder. You just never know with Dennis. So I should say a few words about Dennis. He emigrated here from Los Angeles. Prior to that, he lived in Hawaii for many years, worked with a lot of bands, none of which I can remember at this time. However, he's known best perhaps for having been in the Gnarly Wankers.
Whoa!
Yeah. Yeah, I know. They do a great cover of White Rabbit. And, well, he's reactivating the Gnarly Wankers, and here's a not-so-rare chance to see him in top form with 3 beers in his belly and a head full of ideas. That's one thing Dennis is good for. He's got lots and lots of ideas. In fact, just the other night we were talking about how many ideas Dennis had, but he didn't really know what to say. Anyway, here he is now, Mr. Dennis Allen.
Hi. Francis is right. I usually have a lot of ideas at his house, but then as soon as I leave, I forget everything. Geez, I guess I'm in stereo here. This is some material that I'm working on with a new act that I put together called Last Clear Drop. We're going to be putting out a record here pretty soon. Not sure which label it's going to be on, but it's going to be a really, really big one, you know, like probably one out of Medford or something. And, this is called Always a Siren, Never a Fire. Of heaven, I said, excuse me, stop for a while. Hey buddy, can you buy me a drink? I haven't had one in such a long while. My wife left me just the other day. The market crashed and it's over. So I got drunk and blew out my brains. Now I'm in heaven, I'm feeling no pain. Always a siren, never a fire. Always respected, but never desired. The streets on fire, the streets on fire. Always a siren, never a fire. The dogs surround me as I put on my coat. Hey Jimmy, can you pass me some wine? An ex-cheerleader with a head full of Valium. Some consolation for doing all right. So let me ask you, if I may be so bold, why'd the world take me away? Yeah. The night was cold and I was so alone. I thought that I would start heading for home. never a fire, never respected, never desired. The streets on fire, the streets on fire, always a siren, never desired. Thanks. It doesn't sound that way when the band does it. Somehow they fuck me all up. This is it's called Our New World. I was sitting around thinking one day about how everything's in a tube or a electric filament or something, you know, these days. You know, if you want to brush your teeth, you gotta have a power supply. The more things get chemically dependent, the more we are dependent on the people that supply all the chemicals that run our lives. It'd be nice to get back to the earth, but it's all polluted, so you have to deal with it. I saw a withered old tree on Broadway. I wondered how many people had leaned on it on their way down. In the belly of a worn-out city, in the fog under a dim street light, I got a funny feeling in the pit of my stomach. My life's gonna go for a swim. I wondered how many people had leaned on it. Turn around, put it down. Can't you see the curtains falling? Up there, it's pain in the air. It won't be long till seasons fall to the sound of the song. Species crawl to the end of it all. Our new world with its meters and tubes. Our new world. But I won't be digging my own grave. I'll stand in a place where I can watch from a distance. I might be back on some sweet day, 'cause one can never be sure about one's existence. So pour me another beer, and let's get our thoughts right out of here before they take us away. I love it when you smile that way. Put it down, turn around. Can't you see the curtains falling? Up there is a pain in the air. And it won't be long till seasons fall to the sound of the song. Species crawl to the end of it all. In our new world with its meters and tubes. Our new world. Put it down. Our new world. Thank you. I usually play the bass. I'm not used to playing the guitar. As you can see, I'm not very good either. Oh, we have. Oh, jeez. We have a visitor from outer space here. Jesus, I didn't know this guy was going to show up tonight. It's my good friend, the wrong hero.
Yeah, shut up.
Hey, Francis.
If you would please just step aside for a minute, I'm not quite done with what I want to do, wrong hero.
Well, listen, why don't you do something else then?
I think you should get a little better attitude about life. I'm serious.
Listen, I want you to play a song for me. It's called Let's Kill Abraham Lincoln, okay?
Like I
It's
never play a song
A, B,
called
and E.
that.
He's already dead. Don't tell him what kind of attitude on life he's got to have.
And now we got hecklers for the wrong hero.
That's just a bunch of stinking, lousy, no good, slimy, rotten hypocrites. They call themselves childhood. Childhood? What's next? Neonate? I'm the wrong hero, and I hate everything. And this is the alphabet of my disdain. I hate abbreviations, okay? I hate apathy, and I ain't gonna tell you why either. I got Alzheimer's disease, and he's got mine, I think. Absolute zero is my boiling point. I hate academia. It's a snake pit in the middle of a monkey house. Academia is a grave, and a shallow one too. Aren't you gonna play something or what? Play it in the key of A, because we're doing A today.
Okay, I was going to play like something. I had a song picked out.
Yeah, that's real pretty. I hate acidophilus, swilling hippies, leftovers from the 60s, brain damaged bargain basement remainders. I hate them because they go around there with their little acidophilus, putting it in the perfect good milk and making it into something totally horrible and inedible. I hate it. I hate all those acidophilus, swilling hippie greenheads that turn a lot of perfectly good yogurt parlors into, oh, I hate them. I just hate them, that's all. I hate ice cream stores. I hate yogurt shops. I hate it all. And I hate Alaska. A bunch of blubber-headed Inuits babbling about the textures of slush. A bunch of ex-potheads who want to change the name of Mount McKinley into something like Ecotopia. I hate them. You go to Alaska, they don't even got automated elevators. They got snowmen. And they stand in the elevator and say, cold enough for you? And what's the principal export of Alaska, huh? Ice and exotic postcards. Alaska, I hate it. It's useless. I hate Alcoholics Anonymous. They think I still need them. Is that my drink? Son of a bitch. Bunch of crabby people around here. I hate the American Civil Liberties Union because they even defend me. And who asked them to? Getting the ACLU to defend you is the kiss of death. Look at Mike Dukakis. If Mike Dukakis didn't have the ACLU, you know what would have happened? Why, you lousy no good.
Well, I want that.
What is this, flying saucers attack? This is not 1958, chump. I hate the ACLU. And I hate the fact that if a kid can name all of the American presidents, he's considered some kind of genius. Great! The ability to name a boring succession of Protestant morons means you're ready to take over from Einstein.
Yeah! You gotta love it!
And I hate the American Civil War. You ever know any Civil War veterans? Gettysburg was their Woodstock. And I hate them. And I hate Anglo-Saxons. What's the country with the biggest proportion of Anglo-Saxons? Iceland. Iceland. Tokyo, New York City, Rio de Janeiro, big cultural centers. But look out, because here comes Ray Javik. Do you know why they don't have any car theft in Iceland? Where can you go? I hate Iceland, and I hate Antarctica. It's the one place in the world where there aren't any ants. And they call it Antarctica. Why? And I hate anteaters. You ever try to take an anteater onto an airplane with you? I took an anteater on. He weighed 250 pounds. His fur was soaking wet, and he stank like something I'm not going to say because we're on television. And I hate anteaters. And I took this anteater onto a plane, and I asked the stewardess to feed it, and she said, sorry, but the cook is fresh out of ants today. So the whole time we're flying over New York, this anteater is struggling in my lap and licking the window, trying to use the New Yorkers for snack food. I hate ants. 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 I hate ants. I crush them between my fingers.
Cheers, Francis. It's almost 9 o'clock. Come on.
So what? It's only 6 o'clock in Hawaii. You ever think of that, huh?
Yeah, but we're in Boston. It's 4 o'clock in Hawaii.
Boston. I hate Boston. Cambridge, the only city that has its own foreign policy. Great. Home of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I hate Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Why don't they get some good flavors? Why don't they get some American flavors? Like Corona with real flecks of tobacco leaf, huh? Why don't they get Mexico City paint thinner exhaust rag, huh? I hate it. I'll tell you what else I hate.
You hate everything.
Asinine penguin mascots. This here's Frosty. Frosty represents my lost youth and my lost innocence. Die, 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 die. This ends the Cafe Cabaret. Join us next week.
And now, Michael Higgins.
Oh, you too.